Hey everybody, this is Sabrina. Welcome back to my channel. Yesterday I had you guys vote on whether you wanted a huge process video or a shorter one. So it was too close to call for me, so I just decided to do a little bit of a shorter process video. So I'm going to do two main spreads for my March project life, and then I'll wrap it up in another video. So this page, I pretty much printed out the collage that I made on Photoshop Elements. It started out as a 3x2 and a 2x2, and then I just shrunk it down to make it work for me. I also finally used that heart card, cut it out. I'm going to use it down on the bottom as a really big embellishment, and I'm stamping the title March. This is kind of like our everyday photos, and I just put them together, like I said, in a collage. I did not like the way that the stamp set worked on the matte paper, so that's why I'm stamping it on this other white Epson paper, which is my preferred paper for stamping. So I stamped No Day Like Today and Home Life, Right Now, and March, and I will go ahead and place those in different spots on my project. As I'm cutting out these letters, I've noticed that they're super easy to cut out, and especially with the way that I will have them on my project, I don't have to fussy cut out the shape of each individual letter. It can be more in like a box style, because once you look at the page, you won't be able to tell, which is my favorite kind of fussy cutting, just simple block cutting, not very exactly the shape of it. And I don't know if I mentioned it, but this is the latest alpha stamp set from Ali Edwards, or one of the newest ones. I think it's like part of the alphas are awesome. So that is what it is, and I am using it on every single project because I just love it. Also wanted to mention that when I am looking for the everyday photos, I kind of go with the photos that aren't going to fit in any of the other categories that I have. So I look at my photos once I've pulled them for the month. I look at them and see what kind of jumps out. Like I have a spring project coming next. So that one's going to, obviously be spring. So kind of whatever is left over after I've made all my categories and different project ideas for the month, that becomes the everyday photos, and kind of the photos that I don't want to not include. So that they covers a wide range of topics. As you can see here, I took the XO Story Kit stamp, and I took that heart that has a little separation between it, and I cut it. There's really, really tiny phrases in this vine stamp, and I think you can put that in between the heart. And I'll still be able to do that even though it's cut apart now. But I wanted to be able to have the option of stamping this heart and having that vine pattern and having the heart connected. So I just did a few of those in green and blue. That way I can add them to my spread as well, just to add a little bit of movement, since I'll also have the stamped phrases. So I have some really great photos to document the everyday life, like going out to dinner with a friend, my son finally finishing a project that was a horse that turned out to look like a zebra, full of tissue paper, and my husband fixing a light fixture, library pickups, and I got to go to math class, so that's up in the top corner. And I'm gonna wind up not having a lot of room for journaling, which was kind of a bummer, but I'm gonna come up with a different way to add some journaling, because I wanted to make sure I had some. I also switched the hearts. I had green up in the top right corner, but I wound up switching it to blue. I just thought that would be better instead of green on green. And I am going to finally use a 4-leaf clover chipboard down in the bottom left corner, which is a chipboard I've probably had for years and years. And so now it's going to finally have a home. So the journaling, I decided to use some labels, black label stickers, and just cut portions of those and use those on my spread. I wanted to find a spot on the spread to, on the left-hand side, to add another label, but I couldn't figure it out. So I only have one on the left side that is kind of like a title. It says Our Everyday. But overall, the spread turned out really good, and I'm glad that I used the collage method that I love, just printing it out and adding on all the stuff that I want to add on. And I did bullet point journal style because that's what I love, and I'll just add a few little notes about the picture, and I'm also stamping some of the flowers, or not flowers, the vines from the stamp set that I love. You guys see me use it all the time. It's ridiculous. I use it so much. So I'm going to finish with a little bit of journaling down at the bottom about how I love cat love, and we had St. Patrick's Day, and there's lots of reading and a dinner out with a friend. So all that good stuff that I can go ahead and include in the journaling. Now I'm going to add that leaf stamp that I just can't stop using everywhere, like I said, and I will stamp some of the greenery in green and also blue, just a little bit everywhere, because the hearts have greenery and March always makes me think of green things. Hence why I probably went with the green and the blue theme, which is just great colors for March. So this page is pretty much done, and now I can move on to the next one for this video. So like I mentioned, when I grab all my photos for the month, I kind of look at the stories that pop out. And one of the stories that popped out was spring, and how I took a ton of photos of spring. I decided to not make it too complicated on myself and do 2x2s. And then I thought, well, I could do just a grid, but I had these transparencies, and I think they're from the Currently Story Kit. I know the paper I'm cutting out is from the Currently Story Kit. So I decided to just cut these out and go from there. I didn't know really where I was going from there, but I knew that I could use these around my page, and I can also use the transparencies to place the photos behind. So I'm excited to do this page and use up this paper, because this paper is so fun, and I didn't know how I was going to use it, but I knew that I could probably cut it out and use it that way. I also grabbed a journaling card, and it says Currently Life Is, and I'm going to go ahead and stamp with those same alphas blooming. I figure using the same alphas just gives that little bit of continuity. So I'm going to go ahead and start the, I want to say long process, but process of adding double-sided tape to my transparencies. So I'm going to put a piece of double-sided tape on both the left and the right-hand side, and then a little piece in between each section of the transparency. Then I will go ahead and adhere my photos. Now, I'll be honest, it didn't quite turn out exactly how I wanted. I felt like the pictures could have been a little bit smaller, but that's okay. It still captures spring, and it still turns out to be a beautiful project. But I think, like I said, the pictures could have been a little smaller. But I just grabbed all the photos that I had taken throughout the month of March to document spring and added them in. So I have pictures from neighborhood walks, our backyard, hikes, my daughter, one of our special plants. The plant is actually a jade plant, and it is from my mother-in-law's mother's plant. So we call it Great Grandma Jade, and that is the second photo right there on the yellow transparency. So that plant is really special, and it bloomed like crazy in March. So now I have all the photos adhered to the yellow transparency slide. That's what I want to keep calling it, slides. But I don't know. I don't know if that's the right term, transparencies. But now I want to adhere, or I did adhere the yellow portion, and I do decide that I want the yellow on the left-hand side. Originally, I thought I'd want it on the right, but I decided to put it on the left, and then the blue will go on the right-hand side. And I'll start the process all over again to add the double-sided adhesive to the back of it. And I'm so glad I'm using these up. I love these things. I love using these transparencies, and I'm also really glad that this time when I use these transparencies, or transparencies in general, it went well. I think the last time I used some was in a December daily project, and whew, it was a mess. And then one December daily project, I used them to document the 10 photos on the 10th, and I don't know what was going on, but it was such a hassle to get everything to like go together. I don't know. I think I was trying to back two transparencies on top of each other. I don't know. I'm going to link that video up in the eye so that way you know what I'm talking about, but I've had some interesting adventures with transparencies. So I almost have these all adhered, and then I can add the photos right on top of it, and it's looking amazing. I love documenting spring, and I love documenting fall, and I do talk about that in my journaling, how spring and fall are my favorite seasons to document. What are your favorite seasons to document? I would love to know in the comments section what season really brings you joy to document. I feel like winter is a little bit harder to get ideas on what to document, and same thing with summer, unless we just take pictures of the blinding sun, at least where I'm at. I have 2 chipboard pieces that I want to use. March looks like, I think it says, yeah, March looks like, and then the other one says, here comes the sun. That one I wanted to use in the bottom left corner, and it really helps to add in a little bit more of that blue. And now I'm going to stamp blooming in a green ink. I probably could have gone a little bit lighter of a shade of green, but the other lighter shade I had was an Allie Edwards ink, and I don't always trust that to be easy to stamp a really good impression. So I just went with this one, the darker color. And I'm also going to use some word phrase stickers and do just a little bit of journaling right below the blooming and talk about the various photos and how I love documenting this season. The word phrase stickers are happy and flowers right now and fresh. So perfect choices for the word phrase stickers. And my next step is adding some more of those flowers. The flowers are from the same stamp set as that greenery that I used in the first project. I will go ahead and link that stamp set if it's still available. I'm going to be honest, I got a little crazy with the stamping over in this corner up by the G, and I did not like it at all. Did not like it at all. What had happened is when I stamped, I think the N, I dropped it, and the N got on both, like some ink, leftover ink got on the holes of the paper. So I was like, okay, well, I'll just cover it up with a cluster. This cluster of stamping, I just could not, you guys. So I went ahead and ripped up a portion of the yellow flower. I kind of tore the paper on the right-hand side, but whatever. I'm glad that I tore it up, and I'm glad that I fixed this cluster, because I felt like the cluster was just a hot mess and it was not working for me. I also tore the chipboard and, the backing and then the phrase. I tore that, but I glued it back together as best as I could. And then I'm going to trim off the extra yellow, and then I will have to punch all the holes. I also tried to tilt the little piece a little bit so that way it looked more like a flower-ish shape, and it was a little torn, and whatever. I'm just going to put it on there, and it's going to work, and it's going to help fix that hot mess of a cluster. Punch the holes through it, and now that section is much better. Oh my gosh, sometimes you do cluster stamping and it works out great most of the times, but sometimes it is a hot mess. And there was no other way to fix it other than to tear up that section, because that's the only yellow piece that I had left. So that was my only choice. So I wrote the first word, and I don't know what I wrote. I think it was like between or something. I wrote the wrong word. So I had to cover that up, and instead of using whiteout, I just used some blue phrase stickers that says around here, and that helped fix the journaling mistake. So I just said spring is in full bloom around here. Our great grandma jade plant is full of blossoms. The tulips down the street. The trees are blooming, and I notice these things on our walks and our hikes, and it's such a beautiful and joyful season. And of course, I add some extra lines of journaling to finish it up, and there you go. I hope you guys have enjoyed. I would love a thumbs up or a subscribe if you're new to my channel. Have a great day. Bye.